This is the Ferrari Roma, and it's quite possibly one of the prettiest cars to come out of Maranello since the stunning 458 arrived on the scene in 2009. It's the latest Grand Tourer to come from the Italian marque and is also one of the cheapest ways into Ferrari ownership. Given that it's positioned at the lower end of Ferrari's lineup and is powered by a twin-turbo V8 engine, some are simply referring to the Roma as a hard-topped version of the Portofino, the company's drop-top sports car that replaced the California in 2017. But as you'll find out in our list of 5 things you need to know about the Ferrari Roma, that's not necessarily the case. Before we get into the list, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. When the Roma was first unveiled, many were referring to it as a fixed-roof Portofino, and it's not hard to see why, really. The car does, after all, have the same wheelbase as its drop-top sibling, and they both use the same twin-turbo V8 engine, although it comes in a slightly higher state of tune in the Roma. More on that a bit later. But 70% of the Roma's parts are actually new. While Ferrari hasn't revealed any details about what's been swapped out from the Portofino, we do know that the Roma's centre of gravity is 20mm lower than that of the Portofino, and it's 100 kilos lighter, which is probably thanks to the lack of a folding roof mechanism. A bit like the Mercedes AMG GT, the Ferrari Roma is technically speaking a mid-engined car. Yes, the engine is located in front of the cockpit rather than behind it, but it's positioned a fair bit behind the front axle. But enough about where it sits, you probably want to know the figures. The Roma is powered by the same 3.9-litre twin-turbo V8 engine as the Portofino. However, a new valve train and exhaust system has allowed Ferrari to extract an extra 20 brake horsepower from the motor for a total output of 612 brake horsepower and 760 Nm of torque. Power is sent to the rear wheels through an 8-speed dual-clutch gearbox, and Ferrari claims you'll be able to hit 0 to 62 in 3.4 seconds before hitting a top speed of 199 miles per hour. Have you ever tried to justify a sports car to your partner only for them to turn around and say, "But where are we going to put the kids?" Well, that won't be an issue in the Roma because it's a 2+2, so you can fit 2 people in the back. Of course, 2+2s aren't exactly the most practical of arrangements because you need to be quite small to fit in the back. It's fine for children and small adults, but perhaps it'll be a bit of a squeeze for those measuring in at 6 foot. On the upside, you could always use the back bench as somewhere to store a couple of medium-sized suitcases for a week-long getaway in northern Italy. Just because the Roma is a baby Ferrari doesn't mean the company has cheaped out on the Grand Tourer's interior. The Roma is more mountain pass, less racetrack, and that's reflected in the cabin's design. You won't find much Alcantara or bare carbon fibre in here, as the cabin is decked out with leather and fancy metals. One feature we're particularly fond of is the way the dashboard wraps around both the driver and the passenger, with the latter having their own personal touchscreen to control the infotainment system. Speaking of screens, the Roma adopts the same 16-inch digital instrument cluster as the SF90 Stradale, as well as an 8-inch portrait infotainment system in the centre of the dash. There are also touch controls on the wheel too, which have haptic feedback so you can cycle through menus without having to take your eyes off the road. Ferraris are expensive, even the cheap ones, but given that the F8 Tributo will set you back £203,400, while the 812 Superfast Grand Tourer comes in at £261,000, the Roma looks like a bit of a bargain at £171,000. Yes, the Portofino is cheaper at £164,500 and has a retractable hardtop roof. We'd be happy to pay the extra £6,500 for the Roma's gorgeous looks. For more car news and reviews, head over to YesAuto.com.